My name is Emily Carter. 5 years ago, I gave my heart to a stranger whose name I never knew. By sunrise, he was gone from my life. By the next month, I was carrying his child. And for 5 years, I searched for the man with the heart tattoo on his chest. But the night everything changed did not begin with love. It began with betrayal. After my father died, my stepmother took everything: his house, his savings, his wedding ring, even the room where he used to read me bedtime stories. She gave it to her daughter, Vanessa. I was moved into the tiny storage room behind the kitchen. From that day on, I stopped being family. I became the maid. I cooked. I cleaned. I washed their clothes. And every night I worked as a waitress at one of the most expensive bars in the city. Every paycheck went into my stepmother's hands. She called it rent. I called it survival. That night the bar was crowded. Music shook the walls. Crystal glasses flashed beneath golden lights. Rich men laughed too loudly. Beautiful women smiled too perfectly. I moved between them with a tray in my hands and pain in my feet. Near midnight, my manager pointed toward the VIP section. Table 12, be careful. I knew what that meant. Important men. Dangerous men. Men who thought money gave them permission to touch anything. I walked over with 3 glasses of whiskey. The oldest man at the table looked at me slowly. Too slowly. His smile made my skin crawl. I placed the drinks down and tried to leave. His fingers caught my wrist. "You're prettier up close." I pulled away. "Enjoy your drink, sir." Behind me, his friends laughed. One whispered, "She's perfect." I pretended not to hear. I was good at pretending. Then a deep voice cut through the laughter. "She said enjoy your drinks." The table went silent. I turned. A man stood a few steps away, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair slightly messy like he had run his fingers through it too many times, a black suit, a white shirt open at the collar, piercing blue eyes, cold enough to silence the room. The old man released my wrist. "We were only joking." The stranger did not smile, then laugh without touching her. My heart stopped for one strange second. No one had defended me in years, especially not a man who looked like he owned the whole city. I wanted to thank him, but before I could speak, he looked at me once, just once, and something passed between us, brief, sharp, unexplainable. Then he walked away. My shift ended almost midnight. I removed my apron and stepped outside through the staff exit. The air was cold. For 1 second, I felt free. Then a black car stopped beside me. The window rolled down. Vanessa smiled. My stepsister never came for me unless she wanted something. "There you are." I stepped back. "What are you doing here?" She got out in a glittering silver dress. Her hair was perfect. Her lipstick was perfect. Her cruelty was perfect. "I'm here to save this family." My stomach tightened. "What did you do?" She tilted her head. "A very important man wants company tonight." "No." "He is willing to pay $100,000. I said no. Her smile vanished. "You should be grateful." "You're disgusting." Her eyes hardened. "Careful, Emily. You still sleep under my mother's roof." "Then I'll leave." I turned away. She grabbed my arm. I pulled free and ran. I ran through the parking area, across the street, into the glowing entrance of the Grand Imperial Hotel. I didn't think. I only moved. Crowds meant safety. Lights meant witnesses. Behind me, Vanessa shouted my name. I slipped into an elevator just before the doors closed. My chest rose and fell too fast. A businessman beside me glanced at me. I lowered my head. When the doors opened, I stepped out without checking the floor. The hallway was silent. Luxury carpet, golden lamps, private suites. This was not an ordinary floor. This was where people lived above the world. Then another elevator dinged behind me. Vanessa's voice echoed. She came up here. Panic swallowed me. I ran, left, right, another hallway. Every door was locked. My vision blurred with tears. Please, please. One handle finally turned. I slipped inside and shut the door quietly behind me. Darkness wrapped around me. I pressed my back to the door and covered my mouth. Outside, footsteps rushed past. She came this way. Check the stairs. Then silence. My knees weakened. I was safe. For now. Then someone moved behind me. I spun around. A soft lamp glowed from the bedroom. A man stepped into the light. The same man from the bar. The one who had defended me. Only now he looked different. Less untouchable, more broken. His tie was gone. His shirt was open at the collar. His sleeves were rolled up. His eyes carried a pain so deep it felt familiar. He looked at me. I looked at him. Neither of us spoke. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I didn't know anyone was here." His gaze moved to my trembling hands, then to the door. "You're hiding from someone." I swallowed. "Yes." He did not move closer. He lifted both hands slowly. "I won't hurt you." The words were simple, but they reached a place inside me that had forgotten what safety felt like. I should leave. I reached for the door. It would not open. Panic rose in my throat. "It's locked." He glanced at the wall panel. "Security lock. It resets at dawn unless hotel staff opens it from outside." "No, no, please." My voice cracked. He stepped toward the phone. "I can call security." "No." He stopped immediately. I looked down. "They'll believe her. They always believe her." His jaw tightened. "Who?" "My stepsister." Outside, Vanessa's voice echoed faintly. "Emily." I froze. The stranger crossed the room and turned off the lamp. The suite fell into darkness. Only the city lights shone through the windows. He stood near the door, silent, steady, like a wall between me and the world. Vanessa's footsteps passed, then faded. My body finally gave out. I slid down against the wall. My cheek still burned from fear. My wrists ached from being grabbed. My whole body shook. The stranger picked up his jacket. He did not put it around me. He placed it beside me, so I could choose. That almost made me cry. I pulled it over my shoulders. It was warm. It smelled like rain, cedarwood, and expensive cologne. "Thank you," I whispered. He sat across from me, leaving space between us. "You don't have to explain anything." I looked at him through the dim light. "You don't ask many questions." "People ask questions when they want power." His voice was low. "I don't want power over you." My chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to me like that, like my fear mattered, like my choice mattered. I noticed a torn photograph on the table behind him, a beautiful woman, a diamond ring box beside it, a glass of untouched whiskey. His knuckles were bruised. "You had a bad night too," I said softly. He laughed once, empty. "Tonight was supposed to be my engagement." I looked at the ring box again. "What happened?" His eyes turned toward the city. "She loved my name, not me." The words were quiet, but they hurt. I understood that kind of pain, being wanted for what someone could take, never for who you were. "At least she pretended," I whispered. His gaze returned to mine. "My family stopped pretending years ago." For a long moment we stared at each other. Two strangers, both betrayed, both alone. Rain began tapping against the windows. The city blurred behind silver streaks. He stood and closed the curtains slowly. The room became smaller, warmer, more dangerous. "You're still shaking," he said. "I'm fine." "You're lying." So are you. He paused, then smiled. A small, tired, beautiful smile. My heart stumbled. I hated that it happened. I hated that the worst night of my life could still hold something that felt almost gentle. He brought a blanket from the bedroom and handed it to me. Our fingers brushed. Barely. Just for a second. But my breath caught. So did his. We both looked down at our hands, then back at each other. The air changed. I felt it. He felt it too. I should have looked away. I didn't. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily." He repeated it softly. "Emily." No one had ever made my name sound beautiful before. "And yours?" He hesitated. Only for a second. "Ethan." Ethan. I held the name silently like something precious. Outside, thunder rolled. I flinched. He moved instinctively, then stopped himself. "May I?" The question almost broke me. Not because it was grand, because it was small. Because he asked. I nodded. He sat beside me, close but careful. His shoulder brushed mine. Warmth traveled through me. I looked down at his hand, strong, bruised, still. "Why did you help me earlier tonight?" I asked. His eyes stayed on mine. "Because you looked like someone who had been forced to survive too many things alone." My throat tightened. "And you looked like someone who forgot how to be saved." His expression changed, softer, deeper, like I had touched a hidden wound. Minutes passed. The rain grew heavier. We talked in whispers, about pain, about family, about being used, about pretending not to break. Somewhere between midnight and dawn, he stopped feeling like a stranger. Somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, I forgot I was supposed to be afraid. Then lightning flashed again. I stood too quickly. My heel caught the edge of the rug. I fell forward. Ethan caught me. His arms closed around me, not tightly, not forcefully, just enough to keep me from falling. My palms landed against his chest. Under my hand, his heart beat hard, fast, not calm at all. We froze. His face was inches from mine. His breath warmed my lips. His eyes searched mine, waiting, always waiting. "Emily," he whispered. My fingers curled lightly against his shirt. I should have stepped back. I didn't. For the first time in my life, I wanted something for myself. Not because I was forced. Not because someone demanded it. Because he made me feel seen. Because he made me feel safe. Because when he looked at me, I didn't feel poor. I didn't feel unwanted. I felt alive. His hand lifted slowly to my cheek. He stopped before touching me. "Tell me to stop." My voice came out as a whisper. "Don't stop." His thumb brushed my cheek, so gently I almost cried. Then he kissed me, softly, carefully, like he was asking one last question, and I answered by kissing him back. The world disappeared. The rain, the hotel, the fear, Vanessa, everything vanished except Ethan. His arms tightened only after I stepped closer. His mouth moved against mine with restraint that made my knees weak, like he wanted me, but wanted my trust more. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "Are you sure?" he whispered. No man had ever asked me that, not once. I looked into his eyes, and for one reckless, impossible moment, I chose myself. "Yes." His breath shook. Mine did too. Outside the suite, footsteps returned. The handle moved. We turned at the same time. Vanessa's voice hissed through the door. "Open it." Ethan moved in front of me, but the lock suddenly beeped. Once, twice. Green light flashed. Someone outside had a master key. Ethan grabbed my hand. "Bedroom, now." We ran inside just as the main door opened. He pulled me behind the bedroom wall. His body covered mine in the shadows. I pressed one hand against his chest to steady myself. That was when I saw it. A small heart tattoo, right above his heartbeat. Beautiful, permanent, unforgettable. Before I could ask about it, the bedroom door creaked open. Ethan's hand tightened around mine, his mouth lowered near my ear. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "stay with me." And in that breathless darkness, with his heart pounding beneath my palm, I realized something terrifying. I already wanted to. The bedroom door creaked open. Ethan's hand tightened around mine. Neither of us breathed. A hotel security guard stepped inside with a flashlight. Behind him stood Vanessa. "I know she's here," Vanessa snapped. The guard looked around the suite. "Sir, we're sorry for disturbing you." Ethan stepped out from the bedroom before anyone could see me. His expression turned cold. "You've already disturbed me." "My apologies, sir." Vanessa tried to push past him. "I need to check the bedroom." Ethan didn't move. "I don't remember inviting you into my suite." "She's hiding in here." He looked directly into her eyes. "If you accuse me of lying again, I'll have hotel management remove you from this building." The guard immediately stepped between them. "Miss, that's enough." Vanessa clenched her jaw. For a second, I thought she would force her way inside. Instead, she glared toward the bedroom. "This isn't over, Emily." She turned and walked away. The guard bowed slightly. "We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience, sir." The front door closed. Silence filled the suite once again. A few seconds later, Ethan pushed the bedroom door open. "You can come out now." I walked out slowly. My hands were still shaking. "They're gone?" He nodded. "They won't be coming back tonight." The strength disappeared from my legs. I stumbled. He caught me before I fell. His arms wrapped around me, strong, steady, safe. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "You have nothing to apologize for." "I brought trouble into your life." A gentle smile touched his lips. "You brought honesty into my life." I looked up at him. "What do you mean?" He laughed quietly. "Tonight I lost the woman I thought I would marry." His eyes drifted toward the ring box on the table. "I discovered she loved my name more than she loved me." His voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that only came after heartbreak. "I know what it feels like," I whispered, "to realize the people who should love you never really did." His eyes met mine. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he reached for my hand, slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. Our fingers intertwined naturally, like they had always belonged together. "Would you like some tea?" I smiled. "After everything that's happened tonight?" "I think we've both had enough excitement." That made me laugh. A real laugh. The first one I'd had in years. He smiled too. "I was hoping you'd do that again." "What?" Laugh. Heat rushed into my cheeks. I forgot what it felt like. "I hope you never forget again." He made tea while I watched the rain sliding down the enormous windows. The city sparkled below us. So beautiful, so far away. We sat together on the sofa, talking, not because we had to, because neither of us wanted the conversation to end. I told him about my father, about the bedtime stories, about losing everything after he died. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he quietly said, "He would be proud of the woman you became." Tears filled my eyes. No one has ever said that to me. Someone should have. Then he told me about his grandmother, about building a business he never wanted, about living inside a world where everyone seemed to want something from him. "Except you," he said. "You've asked me for nothing." "I already received something." "What?" "A place where I finally feel safe." His expression softened. "So have I." The rain slowed outside. The silence between us became comfortable, peaceful. I looked at him. He was already looking at me. Neither of us looked away. "You keep doing that," I whispered. "Doing what?" "Looking at me like I'm important." "You are?" "No. You are to me." My heart raced. No expensive gift, no dramatic speech, just 6 simple words, and somehow they meant everything. He stood and walked toward me, stopping close enough that I could feel his warmth, not close enough to take away my choice. "Emily." "Yes?" "Can I continue where I stopped?" A nervous smile escaped me. I knew he was talking about the kiss, and somehow I wanted him to kiss him again. Wait a minute. Why would I want to kiss a stranger again? Why could I not stay away? I had not felt like this before. Then he lifted his hand, then stopped. "May I?" I answered by closing the distance between us. Our lips met gently. This kiss was different. There was no fear, no one chasing us, no danger outside the door, only 2 lonely people finding comfort in each other. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "I don't want this night to end." "It doesn't have to." He searched my eyes carefully. "I need to know something." "What?" "If we stay together tonight, it will only be because it's what you truly want." I smiled through the tears gathering in my eyes. For the first time in my life, I get to choose. And what do you choose? I choose you. His eyes closed for a moment as though those words healed something broken inside him. When he looked at me again, there was hope where loneliness had lived only hours before. He kissed my forehead, then my cheek, then looked into my eyes once more. No promises, no pressure, only trust. Hand in hand, we walked toward the bedroom. The rain outside faded into silence as the city lights shimmered beyond the windows. The bedroom door closed softly behind us, and the rest of the night belonged only to 2 hearts that had chosen each other freely. Warm sunlight brushed across my face. I opened my eyes slowly. For one beautiful moment, I forgot the world outside that suite. Ethan was still asleep beside me. His face looked peaceful, younger, free from the sadness I'd seen the night before. I smiled without realizing it. Carefully, I slipped out of bed and gathered my clothes. As I turned back one last time, the blanket had slipped slightly from his shoulder. There it was, the small heart tattoo above the left side of his chest. Simple, beautiful, unforgettable. "I'll remember you," I whispered. "I'll always remember you." I wanted to wake him. I wanted to stay. But fear won. I was only a waitress. He belonged to a different world. If he woke up, maybe reality would erase everything we'd shared. I couldn't bear to see regret in his eyes. Quietly, I left the suite. A few minutes later, Ethan stirred awake. His hand reached across the bed. It found only an empty pillow. "Emily?" Silence answered. He sat up quickly. She was gone. As he stared toward the closed door, one memory replayed in his mind. Just before dawn, as she had turned away from him, her hair had fallen over one shoulder. For the briefest moment, he had seen a tiny crescent moon birthmark high on her back. He smiled sadly. A crescent moon. He whispered the words like a promise. "I'll find you." Neither of us knew that morning would separate us for 5 years, or that the greatest proof of our one unforgettable night had already begun growing beneath my heart. I never saw Ethan again. Not that morning, not the next day, not the next week. Every evening after work, I found myself looking toward the entrance of the bar. Every time the doors opened, my heart skipped a beat. Every tall man wearing a black suit made me look twice. None of them were him. I even returned to the Grand Imperial Hotel 3 different times. The first time, I stood outside for almost 2 hours, pretending to wait for someone. The second time, I gathered enough courage to approach the reception desk. I... I'm looking for someone. The receptionist smiled politely. Do you know the guest's full name? I lowered my eyes. No. The room number? No. I'm sorry, miss. We can't release guest information. I nodded. I understand. As I walked away, tears blurred my vision. How could I find someone when all I knew was his first name? Ethan. That was all I had. Sometimes, after work, I sat alone in my tiny room and drew the little heart tattoo from memory. Again, and again, and again. I was terrified I would forget it. Terrified I would forget him. Then, 4 weeks after that unforgettable night, I woke before sunrise with a violent wave of nausea. I barely made it to the bathroom. I stared at my pale reflection. Maybe I'm just exhausted. But the sickness returned the next morning, and the morning after that. By the 4th week, my heart already knew the answer my mind refused to accept. That afternoon, I stopped at a pharmacy. My hands trembled as I paid for a pregnancy test. The cashier smiled politely. I couldn't even smile back. I hid the small box deep inside my handbag before walking home. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the house, Vanessa was sitting comfortably in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She barely looked at me. You're late. I had errands. You've become very secretive lately. I've just been tired. She shrugged. No one asked. I walked straight to my tiny room, locked the door, sat on the edge of my bed. The pregnancy test rested in my hands. I stared at it for nearly 10 minutes. If I never opened it, then maybe my life wouldn't change. Eventually, I forced myself to move. A few minutes later, I looked down. 2 pink lines. Everything around me disappeared. Pregnant. I was carrying Ethan's child. Tears streamed down my face. Not because I regretted that night. Never. That night had been the first time I had ever truly felt loved. I cried because I had no way of finding him. I don't know where you are. I don't know your last name. I hugged my stomach. You deserve to know. I wish I could tell you. For several minutes, I simply sat there crying. Then something unexpected happened. A tiny smile appeared. I rested both hands over my stomach. You are the last gift your father gave me. I'll protect you, I promise. A loud knock shattered the silence. Emily, Vanessa, what are you hiding? I quickly wiped my tears away and opened the door. She looked at my face suspiciously. Were you crying? No. She pushed past me. Before I could stop her, she spotted the pregnancy test beside the sink. She picked it up, read it, then laughed, cold, cruel, satisfied. I knew it. Give it back. She ignored me. Instead, she walked into the living room. Mom! My stepmother looked up impatiently. What now? Vanessa held the test in the air. Our little saint is pregnant. Silence. Then my stepmother slowly stood. She walked toward me, each step filled with anger. Is this true? I couldn't answer. Her hand struck my face so hard I stumbled backward. You shameless girl, Another slap. I fed you. I clothed you. You repay me by sleeping around? You never treated me like family. She grabbed my arm painfully. Who is the father? My lips trembled. I don't know his full name. Vanessa burst into laughter. Listen to her. She doesn't even know who got her pregnant. He isn't like that, I whispered. He is a good man. A good man? Vanessa sneered. If he's so wonderful, why isn't he here? The words cut deeper than the slaps, because I had asked myself that question every day. My stepmother pointed toward the front door. Get out, I stared at her. What? You heard me. I'm pregnant. I have nowhere else to go. She folded her arms. That sounds like your problem. She stormed into my room, threw my clothes into an old suitcase, then dragged it outside and threw it onto the wet pavement. You stopped being my responsibility the day your father died. The front door slammed shut. I stood in the rain. One suitcase, one handbag, one tiny life growing inside me. The same rain, the same cold wind, just like the night I met Ethan. I wrapped both arms around myself. I'll be okay. I wasn't sure whether I was speaking to myself or my baby. Suddenly, a familiar voice called my name. Emily! I turned around. Sophia! She hurried across the street and immediately hugged me. Sophia Bennett, my best friend since secondary school, the one person who had always believed in me. She stepped back and looked at my suitcase, then my swollen eyes. What happened? I forced a weak smile. I'm fine, she shook her head. No. You've never been able to lie to me. The tears returned instantly. They threw me out. Sophia's face fell. What? I nodded. They found out I'm pregnant. She didn't ask who the father was. She simply hugged me again. I'm so sorry. We walked to a small cafe nearby. After ordering tea, she reached into her handbag. I was actually looking for you today. Why? She smiled. Remember my dream? The fashion company? She nodded excitedly. It finally happened. My investors approved everything. We're opening Bennett Designs. My eyes widened. You did it? I did, but her smile became even bigger. Not in this city. It's in Riverdale. The city was 6 hours away. I leave tomorrow morning. I looked down at my tea. I'm happy for you. She reached across the table. Come with me. I looked up. What? I need someone I trust. I need an assistant. I've always wanted you beside me. I laughed sadly. I don't know anything about fashion. She stared at me in disbelief, then reached into another folder. My eyes widened. My sketches? You kept them? She nodded. Every single one. I've been collecting them for years. She spread the drawings across the table. Dress designs, evening gowns, wedding gowns, sketches I had thrown into the rubbish after work. You drew these during your lunch breaks. You designed these while serving drinks. You have talent, Emily. No, I just draw because it makes me happy. Exactly, she smiled. Talent usually does. I looked at the sketches again, then at my stomach. I'm pregnant. I know. I'll become a burden. Sophia immediately shook her head. No, you'll become family. Fresh tears filled my eyes. You still want me? I've wanted you on this journey from the beginning. She quietly placed 2 bus tickets on the table. Tomorrow morning. Riverdale. We start over. The next morning, I stood at the bus station. The city slowly disappeared beneath the rising sun. Somewhere behind those buildings, Ethan was living his life, completely unaware that he was already going to become a father. The bus doors opened. Sophia smiled at me. Ready? I looked back one last time. I'm sorry, Ethan. I don't know how to find you. I hope one day you'll forgive me for leaving. I stepped onto the bus. As it pulled away from the city, I rested one hand over my stomach. This isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. I didn't know that Riverdale would change my life. I didn't know I'd become a fashion designer. I didn't know 5 years later my career would bring me back to this very city, back to Ethan, back to the man neither my heart nor fate had ever truly let go. Riverdale saved me, not all at once, not like a miracle. It saved me slowly, one day at a time. At first, it was just a small town with quiet streets, old brick buildings, and people who didn't know my shame. No one knew Vanessa. No one knew my stepmother. No one knew I had been thrown out of my own home with a suitcase and a secret growing beneath my heart. In Riverdale, I was not the abandoned daughter. I was not the pregnant waitress. I was simply Emily. Sophia rented a tiny apartment above Bennett Designs. The building was old. The stairs creaked. The windows rattled whenever the wind blew. But to me, it felt like freedom. The first time Sophia handed me a key, I stared at it until my vision blurred. "Why are you crying?" she asked softly. I closed my fingers around the key. "Because no one has ever given me a place without reminding me I could lose it." Sophia hugged me, then let me be the first. Bennett Designs was nothing glamorous at the beginning. One front room, 2 sewing machines, 3 mannequins, a wall covered with sketches, and a dream bigger than both of us. Sophia handled clients. I answered calls, cleaned the studio, packed fabric orders, pinned hems, delivered dresses. And when everyone went home, I sat alone under the yellow studio lights and drew. At first, I hid the sketches. Then one night, Sophia found me asleep over a half-finished design. She lifted the page carefully. When I woke, I panicked. "It's nothing." She looked at me like I had offended her. "Emily, this is not nothing." "It is. It's a maternity evening gown." My cheeks warmed. "I just thought women shouldn't have to feel invisible because they're pregnant." Sophia stared at the sketch, then smiled. "Then design it." "What?" "You heard me. No one will buy it. I will." "Sophia, design it." So I did. The gown was soft ivory chiffon with delicate pleating beneath the bust and tiny pearl details along the sleeves. When our first pregnant client tried it on, she cried in front of the mirror. "I feel beautiful," she whispered. That was the first time I understood what fashion could do. It could give a woman back to herself. Months passed. My stomach grew. So did Bennett Designs. Small orders became bridal fittings. Bridal fittings became referrals. Referrals became wealthy clients from neighboring towns. And through it all, I kept working. Until one rainy evening, pain gripped my stomach so suddenly, I dropped a box of silk ribbons. Sophia rushed to my side. "Emily?" I tried to breathe. "I think—" Another wave of pain came. "I think he's coming." The drive to the hospital felt endless. I gripped Sophia's hand so tightly she laughed through her tears. "If you break my fingers, I'm naming him myself." I wanted to laugh. I screamed instead. Hours later, a baby's cry filled the hospital room. The nurse placed him in my arms. Tiny, warm, perfect. Dark hair, soft cheeks, and when his eyes opened, my breath caught. Blue, Ethan's blue. The same eyes that had found me in the dark. The same eyes that had made me feel safe for one unforgettable night. My tears fell onto my son's blanket. "Hello, Noah." Sophia leaned over my shoulder. "Noah?" I nodded. "It means rest." I kissed his tiny forehead. "Because after everything, you are my peace." 5 years passed, but some memories refused to fade. Noah grew into a child who looked more like Ethan every day. His black hair fell across his forehead the same way. His blue eyes sparkled whenever he was curious. Even his serious little frown reminded me of the man I had left behind. "Mommy," he asked one night while I tucked him into bed, "do I have a daddy?" My heart squeezed. "Yes, sweetheart." "Where is he?" I smoothed his hair gently. "Far away." "Does he know me?" My throat tightened. "Not yet." Noah thought about that. "Then we should find him." I smiled through the pain. "One day." "You always say one day." because one day is all I can promise. Every birthday, I lit a candle for Noah, and every year, silently, I made the same wish. Ethan, wherever you are, I hope you are happy. I hope you know that one night gave me the greatest love of my life, but I never looked for him again. Not because I forgot, because I was afraid. Afraid he had moved on. Afraid he had married someone else. Afraid he would look at Noah and think I had trapped him. Afraid that the beautiful man who had chosen me for one night would regret the proof of that choice. So I built a life instead. During the day, I worked at Bennett Designs. At night, after Noah slept, I studied fashion online. Then Sophia enrolled me in design school. I refused at first. We can't afford it. She slid the admission letter across the table. Scholarship? I stared at her. You applied for me? You would have said no. I have a child. You also have a gift. So I went. I attended classes with fabric chalk still on my hands. I submitted assignments after rocking Noah back to sleep. I learned pattern drafting, textile theory, luxury tailoring, fashion illustration, brand identity. Every lesson felt like another step away from the frightened girl who had boarded that bus. By the time Noah turned 4, I was no longer just Sophia's assistant. I was Bennett Design's lead designer. By the time he turned 5, our gowns were being worn at galas, weddings, and charity balls across 3 cities. And then came the call that changed everything. Sophia burst into the studio one afternoon holding her laptop. Her eyes were wide with excitement. "Emily, you need to see this." I looked up from my sketches. "What happened?" She spun the screen toward me. An email filled the display. "Congratulations. Bennett Designs has been shortlisted to present at the Kingsley Group Luxury Fashion Selection." I looked at her. "The Kingsley Group?" She nodded excitedly. "They're the biggest luxury company in the country. Every fashion house dreams of working with them. If we win this contract," she laughed, "we'll never have to worry about money again." I smiled. "Then we'd better win." She grinned. "I knew you'd say that." "We leave next week." I froze. "Leave?" She nodded. "The presentations are at Kingsley Tower, in your hometown." My smile faded slightly. I hadn't been back in 5 years. Not since the day I boarded that bus. Not since I left Ethan behind. Sophia noticed the change in my face. "You don't have to go if you're not ready." I looked toward Noah, who was quietly coloring in the corner of the studio. This opportunity could change all our lives. I couldn't run forever. I took a slow breath. No, it's time I went home. A week later, I returned to the city I had sworn never to see again. I wore a cream-tailored dress Sophia had designed for me, nude heels and a simple pearl necklace. My hair fell in soft waves down my back. Noah held my hand, dressed in a tiny navy blazer and white shirt, looking far too much like the man I had never stopped loving. Bennett Designs had been invited to present at Kingsley Tower. The building rose above the city like glass and steel royalty. My pulse quickened as I stepped through the revolving doors. Everything inside was expensive. Polished floors, gold details, men in suits, women in designer heels. I looked down at Noah. "Stay close to me, okay?" He nodded. "Okay, Mommy." Sophia hurried beside us with the garment bags. "We're going to be amazing." I tried to smile. Then the elevator doors across the lobby opened. A group of executives stepped out. The air shifted. My heart suddenly began racing for no reason. Noah tugged my hand. "Mommy?" I looked down for 1 second. Just one. When I looked up again, the executives had already moved toward the private corridor. But at the center of them was a tall man in a black suit. Broad shoulders, dark hair, commanding presence. I couldn't see his face, only the back of him. My breath caught. No, it couldn't be. Before I could move, Noah slipped his hand from mine. "Mommy, look!" A model display near the lobby had caught his attention. "Noah!" He ran across the polished floor just as another elevator opened. A man stepped out, speaking into his phone. I ran after my son. At the last second, the man reached down and caught Noah before he could crash into him. My heart nearly stopped. "I'm so sorry," I rushed forward. The man crouched in front of Noah. "Are you hurt, little man?" Noah shook his head. "No." The man's voice froze the blood in my veins. Deep, calm, familiar. Slowly he lifted his head. Piercing blue eyes met mine. The world disappeared. 5 years vanished in one breath. Ethan. Piercing blue eyes met mine. For one breath, the entire world disappeared. Noah stood safely between us, smiling at the man who had caught him before he fell. But I couldn't breathe. Those eyes, that voice, that face. Every memory from 5 years ago crashed into me all at once. Ethan. It had to be Ethan. Before I could speak, a woman in a black suit hurried toward him. "Mr. Alexander Kingsley, the board is waiting." Alexander Kingsley. My heart stopped. Alexander? Not Ethan? The man looked away from me and smiled gently at Noah. "You need to be more careful, little man." Noah grinned. "You caught me really fast." "I've had lots of practice." I hurried over and pulled Noah close. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Kingsley." He smiled politely. "No harm done." His eyes lingered on Noah a little longer than necessary. Something about them softened, almost like he couldn't stop looking at him. Noah smiled back. For one strange second, they looked almost identical. Sophia rushed over carrying our garment bags. "I'm terribly sorry." Alexander simply nodded. "It's all right." His assistant cleared his throat. "Sir." Alexander looked back at us one last time. "Welcome to Kingsley Tower." Then he walked away. I couldn't move. Sophia looked at me. "Emily?" I blinked. "What?" "You look pale." "I'm fine." She frowned. "You've been staring at him." I forced a small laugh. "I thought he looked like someone I once knew." "You know Alexander Kingsley?" I shook my head. "No, just someone who looked a little like him." But even as I said the words, I didn't believe them. Noah tugged my sleeve. "Mommy." "Yes?" "I like that man." I smiled. "So do I." The words escaped before I could stop them. Sophia laughed. "Everyone likes Alexander Kingsley. They say he's the youngest billionaire CEO in the country, and one of the toughest." I looked toward the elevators where he had disappeared. For some reason, my heart refused to believe he was a stranger. We were escorted into the executive boardroom. Everything about Kingsley Group felt larger than life. Glass walls overlooked the city skyline. Luxury artwork lined the corridors. The conference table was longer than my entire apartment in Riverdale. Sophia squeezed my hand. "Ready?" I nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." A few moments later, the board members entered. Then Alexander Kingsley walked in. Everyone stood. He acknowledged them with a simple nod before taking his seat at the head of the table. He looked every bit the powerful CEO, confident, calm, respected, nothing like the lonely man who had once shared his heart with me beneath the rain. He looked up. Our eyes met again. Only for a second. Then the meeting began. Sophia introduced Bennett Designs. "Our company believes fashion should empower women through confidence and elegance." She smiled toward me. "Our lead designer, Emily Carter, created every piece in today's collection." I stepped forward. My hands trembled slightly. Not because of the presentation, because Alexander Kingsley was watching me. Our collection is called Reborn. The first sketches appeared on the screen. Elegant evening gowns, luxury business wear, modern bridal designs, each piece carried a quiet strength. They're inspired by women who rebuild themselves after life tries to break them. The room became completely silent. I continued. Every stitch tells a story, not of perfection, but of resilience. When I finished, several executives applauded. One leaned forward. Exceptional work. Another nodded. The emotional identity behind this collection is remarkable. I looked toward Alexander. He hadn't applauded. He was simply watching me, like he was trying to remember something. After the meeting ended, everyone slowly left the room, except him. Miss Carter, I turned. Yes, Mr. Kingsley? If you have a moment. Sophia smiled knowingly. I'll wait outside. She quietly closed the door behind her. Alexander walked toward one of my framed sketches displayed against the wall. A midnight blue evening gown. Simple, elegant, its neckline curved in the shape of a crescent. What inspired this? I looked at the sketch. A sad smile crossed my face. A memory. He looked at me. What kind of memory? The kind you never truly leave behind. Something changed in his eyes. I understand that. I swallowed. You do? He nodded slowly. There are some people, no matter how much time passes, you never forget them. For a second, my heart almost believed. Then I remembered. His name wasn't Ethan. His name was Alexander. I smiled politely. I should get back to my team. As I turned toward the door, it suddenly opened. A familiar voice filled the room. There you are. My blood froze. Vanessa. She looked even more glamorous than 5 years ago. Designer heels, luxury handbag, diamond earrings. She walked confidently toward Alexander before suddenly stopping. Her eyes locked onto me for one long second. Neither of us moved. Then her lips slowly curled into a smile. Emily. I felt Noah's small hand wrap around mine. Vanessa looked me up and down. I thought you disappeared forever. I moved, I answered quietly. Clearly. Her eyes slowly traveled over my clothes. Looks like life has been good to you. I said nothing. Then her gaze shifted toward Noah. The smile on her face became cruel. So, you kept it. My heart tightened. Noah looked up at me. Mommy? I squeezed his little hand. It's okay. Vanessa laughed. I still remember the day my mother threw you out. You stood in the rain, pregnant, crying, and you didn't even know who the father was. The hallway outside suddenly fell silent. Several executives turned to look inside. Sophia immediately stepped forward. That's enough, Vanessa. She ignored her completely. I always wondered, did you ever figure out who got you pregnant? She folded her arms. Or are you still raising some stranger's child? My face burned. Not because I was ashamed of Noah, never, because I refused to let him hear those words. Noah looked between us. Mommy, what is she talking about? Before I could answer, Vanessa laughed again. Didn't your mother tell you? She slept with a man she didn't even know. And she never found him. My heart shattered. Noah, I whispered. But before Vanessa could say another word, a cold voice stopped her. Enough. The room instantly fell silent. Alexander stepped forward. His eyes never left Vanessa. I will not tolerate anyone being humiliated inside my company. Vanessa blinked. I was only telling the truth. His voice remained calm, cold, controlled. Whether it's true or not, it is none of your concern. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Alexander turned toward Noah. His expression softened immediately. He crouched until they were eye level. You don't have to listen to grown-ups when they forget how to be kind. Noah nodded. Okay. Alexander smiled faintly. You're a brave little man, just like your mother. My breath caught. He stood and looked at me. I'm sorry you had to experience this. I could barely find my voice. Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. He gave a small nod, then walked away. But before disappearing down the corridor, he looked back, just once. His eyes found mine again. The same strange familiarity lingered between us, as though part of him recognized something his mind couldn't explain. Vanessa watched the entire exchange. Her smile had disappeared. Her eyes slowly moved from Alexander to Noah, back to Alexander again. She noticed the blue eyes, the dark hair, the shape of Noah's face. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. A flicker of fear crossed her face. She quickly hid it, but I saw it. For the first time in 5 years, Vanessa wasn't looking at me with confidence. She was looking at me like I had become a threat. And deep inside, without understanding why, I realized that returning to this city had just changed all of our lives forever. As everyone slowly left Kingsley Tower that evening, I stayed behind to collect the last of my sketches. When I stepped into the hallway, he was there, waiting for the elevator. Neither of us spoke. We simply smiled. Long day? He asked. I nodded. But a good one. The elevator arrived. We stepped inside together. The ride was quiet, comfortable. When the doors opened, I took one step forward. My heel caught the edge of the carpet. I stumbled. Before I could fall, his hand caught mine. The force pulled me gently against him for one suspended moment. Neither of us moved. His hand remained around my waist. Mine rested against his chest. Our eyes met. He slowly brushed a loose strand of hair behind my ear. My heart forgot how to beat. He leaned closer. I didn't pull away. Our foreheads touched. Our noses almost brushed. We were only a breath apart. Then his phone vibrated. The spell shattered. He smiled awkwardly. So should I. Neither of us finished the sentence. We simply walked away. But somehow, neither of us left the other behind. The almost kiss haunted me. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt his forehead against mine. I felt his fingers brushing my hair behind my ear. The strangest part wasn't that it felt familiar, it was that it felt like coming home. I had spent 5 years trying to forget one unforgettable night. Now another man was making me remember every second of it. Only, he wasn't Ethan. He was Alex Kingsley. I had to remember that, for Noah's sake, for my own. The following morning, Bennett Designs returned to Kingsley Tower to prepare for the charity fashion gala. The atmosphere was busy. Models hurried between fitting rooms, stylists adjusted gowns, photographers tested lighting. I was pinning the hem of an evening dress when I sensed someone watching me. I looked up. Alex stood across the room, hands in his pockets, a small smile on his face. You never stop working, I smiled. Neither do you. He walked over. I was wondering. I looked at him. If you'd have lunch with me. My heart skipped. Lunch? He nodded. We've been working together for days. I've learned everything about your designs, but almost nothing about you. I hesitated. This wasn't a date. It couldn't be. Still, my heart said otherwise. Okay. His smile widened. I know a quiet place downstairs. Lunch lasted nearly 2 hours. Neither of us noticed. We talked about everything except ourselves. Fashion, books, travel, food, Noah. He laughed more than I had ever seen. You know, he said, I don't usually enjoy lunches. Why? They normally involve contracts. I laughed. And today? Today felt, he searched for the word, easy. I looked down at my coffee. I was thinking the same thing. Silence settled between us. Comfortable silence. The kind that only exists between people who somehow already understand each other. He smiled. This is going to sound strange. What? I feel like I've known you much longer than a week. My heart tightened. So do I. Our eyes met. Neither of us looked away. Until his phone rang, he sighed. Duty calls. I smiled. I should get back too. As we walked back toward the showroom, he suddenly stopped. What? He looked embarrassed. I've been wanting to ask you something. Go ahead. Why do you always wear a silver moon necklace? I instinctively touched the tiny crescent pendant resting against my neck. It had become part of me. My mother gave it to me. Another lie. It was the only answer I could give. He nodded. It suits you. That simple sentence stayed with me all afternoon. Later, most of the team left to inspect the gala venue. I stayed behind to finish adjusting the final collection. Alex remained in his office reviewing contracts. The entire floor had become unusually quiet. I carried several sketches toward the executive office. Just as I reached the hallway, Margaret arrived carrying a lunch basket. She smiled at me. Working late again? So is your grandson, she laughed. He forgets to eat whenever he's busy. I smiled politely. She disappeared into his office. The door remained slightly open. I turned to leave. Then I heard her voice. Ethan. Everything inside me froze. Ethan. I slowly looked toward the office. My breathing stopped. I brought your dinner. Alex laughed softly. You worry too much, grandmother. I have every right to worry. You worked yourself into exhaustion in Switzerland, too. Switzerland. My fingers tightened around the sketches. I wasn't trying to listen, I simply couldn't move. Margaret sighed. Sometimes I wish I had never collapsed. Silence. Then his quiet voice answered. Don't say that. If you hadn't, I would have lost you. She smiled sadly. And because I did, you lost her. The sketches almost slipped from my hands. Alex didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded heavier than I had ever heard. I searched the hotel before we left. I checked every floor. I spoke to every receptionist. I even watched security footage. They couldn't identify her. Margaret remained silent. When we returned 8 months later, I searched again. The room had already been renovated. The staff had changed. The records were gone. I hired investigators. They found nothing. I searched for years. I still don't know what happened to her. My vision blurred. He searched. He had searched. He hadn't forgotten me. He hadn't walked away. Life had taken him away before he ever had the chance. Margaret spoke quietly. You still think about her? Every day. His answer came without hesitation. I don't even know if I'd recognize her now. My heart broke all over again. 5 years changes people. The only time I ever saw her, she was wearing a waitress uniform. Her hair was tied back. She'd been crying. The room was dark. I remember pieces. Her voice, her kindness, the way she looked at me, but her face. He closed his eyes. I've tried to remember it 1,000 times. I can't. Margaret smiled gently. Then maybe your heart will recognize her before your eyes do. Silence followed. I quietly stepped away before anyone could see me. By the time I reached the ladies' room, the tears were already falling. He hadn't forgotten me. He simply couldn't remember my face. And how could he? 5 years had changed everything. I wasn't that frightened waitress anymore. I had become someone new. That evening, I returned to my hotel room. Sophia immediately noticed my swollen eyes. What happened? I sat on the edge of the bed. Then everything poured out. Alex. Is Ethan. Sophia stared at me. What? His grandmother called him Ethan. I told her everything. The conversation, Switzerland, the search, the investigators, the hotel. By the time I finished, Sophia was crying too. He searched for you, I nodded. He never stopped. So tell him. I slowly shook my head. No. She looked at me in disbelief. Emily, he deserves to know about Noah. I know. So tell him. I looked toward the bedroom where Noah was sleeping peacefully. What if he doesn't remember me? He remembers how she made him feel. He doesn't remember her face. Sophia frowned. So? What if he tells me he's only staying because Noah is his son? What if it's responsibility? What if it isn't love? She sat beside me. Do you honestly believe that? Fresh tears rolled down my face. I don't know what to believe anymore. I've spent 5 years loving one man, and now another man makes my heart beat exactly the same way. Sophia smiled softly. They're the same man. I laughed through my tears. I know, but he doesn't. She reached for my hand. What are you going to do? I looked out toward the city lights. The gala is tomorrow. We'll finish the contract. Then Noah and I will go back to Riverdale. You'll leave? I nodded. If Ethan remembers me. I want it to be because he truly remembers, not because I force the truth into his hands. Across the city, Alex stood alone inside his penthouse. His housekeeper entered carrying a donation box. Mr. Kingsley? Yes? I found this old jacket again. The one that's been in your wardrobe for years. Should I finally donate it? Alex looked up. It was the black jacket from the hotel, the one Emily had worn home that rainy morning. He stared at it for a long moment, then quietly stood. He took it from the box, ran his fingers across the sleeve. No. He answered softly, leave it where it is. The housekeeper smiled. I thought you'd say that. After she left, he held the jacket in silence. He didn't know why he could never let it go. He only knew that every time he tried, something inside him refused. Then his phone lit up. A photograph from today's lunch. Someone from the company had captured it. Emily was laughing. He found himself smiling too. He whispered into the empty room, why does being with you feel exactly like coming home? And somewhere across the city, I looked at the same moon shining through my hotel window, holding the little silver crescent around my neck, completely unaware that fate had finally finished separating us. Now, it was preparing to bring us together forever. The Kingsley Charity Gala arrived like a dream I never imagined I would live. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above the grand ballroom. White roses lined every table. Luxury gowns filled the room. 5 years ago, I had been serving drinks to people like these. Tonight, they were wearing my designs. Sophia stood beside me, smiling through tears. We made it. I looked at Noah in his tiny black tuxedo. He straightened his bow tie proudly. I look like Batman. I laughed. You do. Across the ballroom, Alex was already watching us. The moment our eyes met, my heart betrayed me. I knew the truth now. Alex Kingsley was Ethan, the man from the hotel, the man who had searched for me, the father of my son. He walked toward us. You both look incredible. Thank you. His eyes stayed on me a little longer than they should have. Then he smiled at Noah. You still look like Batman. Noah grinned proudly. Margaret joined us moments later. You've been staring at Emily all evening, Ethan. Alex sighed. Grandmother. I lowered my eyes. Hearing her call him Ethan still made my heart race. The gala officially began. Models walked the runway wearing every piece Bennett Designs had created. The applause grew louder with every collection. When the final design reached the runway, the audience rose to their feet. The host smiled. It is my pleasure to announce that Kingsley Group has officially chosen Bennett Designs as our new luxury fashion partner. The ballroom erupted into applause. Sophia hugged me tightly. We did it. Tears filled my eyes. Years of sacrifice, years of sleepless nights, years of believing in impossible dreams. They had all led to this moment. Alex walked toward me. Congratulations. He held out his hand. I placed mine in his. The moment our fingers touched, everything else disappeared. I'm proud of you. Those 4 words nearly broke me, because I had imagined Ethan saying them for 5 years. Before either of us could speak again, Vanessa appeared. She slipped her arm through his. The press is waiting. Alex calmly removed her hand. I'll be there in a minute. Her smile disappeared. For the first time, she looked frightened. The more Alex ignored her, the more she watched me. Then, without permission, she walked onto the stage and picked up the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the room slowly became quiet. I think every success story deserves honesty. My stomach tightened. My stepsister Emily is certainly an inspiration. She smiled sweetly. But 5 years ago, she wasn't a fashion designer. She was a waitress. The room fell silent. Vanessa continued. She disappeared after becoming pregnant. And the funniest part? She didn't even know who the father was. Gasps echoed around the ballroom. Noah squeezed my hand. Mommy? My heart broke. Alex immediately stepped forward. Enough. His voice was cold. You will step down. Vanessa laughed. I'm only telling the truth. She pointed toward Noah. That little boy has never known his father because his mother slept with a complete stranger. I quickly covered Noah's ears. Don't listen. He looked up at me with frightened eyes. Mommy. I couldn't let him hear another word. Alex reached the stage and took the microphone from Vanessa. That's enough. But something inside me changed. For 5 years, other people had told my story. They had decided who I was. They had decided who Noah was. They had decided what that night meant. Not anymore. I kissed Noah gently on the forehead. Stay with Aunt Sophia for a minute. He nodded. I slowly walked toward the stage. Alex immediately stepped in front of me. Emily. His hand gently caught mine. His eyes were filled with concern. You don't have to explain yourself. They've heard enough. I looked into his eyes, then slowly smiled. I'm not explaining. He frowned. I don't understand. I know. I gently slipped my hand from his. But if I walk away now, I'll spend the rest of my life letting someone else tell my story. He looked at me for a long moment, then quietly stepped aside. I climbed onto the stage. The ballroom became completely silent. Vanessa folded her arms confidently. She thought she had won. I picked up the microphone. My hands trembled. Then I looked at Noah. Everything became calm. 5 years ago, everything Vanessa said was true. The room gasped. I was a waitress. I had nowhere to go. I had no family willing to protect me. And yes, I was pregnant. The silence grew heavier. I didn't know how to find the father of my child. I only remembered his kindness, the way he made me feel safe, and one tiny detail, a little heart tattoo. Alex's breathing changed. His hand slowly drifted toward his chest. I searched for him. I went back to the hotel. I asked everyone. But sometimes two people search for each other and still never meet. Margaret covered her mouth. Alex took one slow step closer. That night did not destroy me. It gave me the greatest gift of my life. My son. I looked toward Noah. He became my reason. The reason I moved to another city. The reason I studied fashion. The reason I worked until sunrise. The reason I refused to give up. Soft applause began. I raised one hand gently. Please, let me finish. The room became silent again. I looked directly at Alex. For 5 years, I believed the man from that night had forgotten me. Yesterday, I learned he never did. He searched. He just couldn't find me. Fresh tears rolled down my cheeks. So today, I don't stand here ashamed. I stand here grateful, because that one night created the life I love most. Alex was crying openly now. His eyes never left mine. I smiled through my tears. And if loving my son makes me weak, I gladly accept that. If surviving makes me shameful, I gladly accept that too. But I will never allow anyone to call my child a mistake. The ballroom erupted into applause. Even people who had judged me moments before were standing. Vanessa looked around in disbelief. She had wanted to destroy me. Instead, she had given me the chance to tell the truth. I lowered the microphone, then looked only at Alex. The next words were meant only for him. Sometimes, the person you think disappeared was searching for you too. His breathing became uneven. He slowly lifted one trembling hand toward the collar of his shirt. His fingers stopped. His eyes filled with confusion, with pain, with memories he could almost touch. He whispered, "No." I smiled sadly through my tears. He took one slow step toward the stage. Another. His eyes never left mine. "Who are you?" Fresh tears rolled down my face. "You really don't remember my face." His breathing became heavier. Rain, a hotel room, a trembling hand, a gentle kiss, morning sunlight. Fragments flashed through his mind like broken glass. He held his head. His voice barely worked. Why does my heart already know you?" I looked at the man I had loved for 5 years, the man who had unknowingly searched for me, the father of my son, and with tears streaming down my face, I whispered, "Because some promises are never forgotten by the heart." His eyes widened. Another memory flashed. He took one final step toward me. The ballroom held its breath. And then everything inside him began to remember. Everything inside him began to remember. His breathing became uneven. His eyes never left mine. Rain, a hotel room, a frightened waitress, a trembling smile, a gentle kiss, morning sunlight spilling across white sheets. The woman he had searched for, the woman he had loved after only one night. The memories crashed into him all at once. He staggered backwards. "No!" His voice trembled. "No!" Margaret hurried toward him. "Ethan!" He looked at her with tears already streaming down his face. "It was her." His voice broke. "It was always her." The ballroom watched in complete silence. He slowly looked back at me, not at Emily Carter, not at the designer. He was looking at the woman he had spent 5 years searching for. "You," his voice barely worked, "you were the woman in the hotel." I nodded through my tears. "Yes, I've been looking for you every single day." "So have I." He climbed onto the stage. Every step seemed heavier than the last. When he finally stood in front of me, neither of us spoke. We simply looked at each other. 5 years of heartbreak, 5 years of questions, 5 years of loneliness, gone in one moment. His shaking hand slowly reached toward my face. He stopped just before touching me. As soon as I touch you, I'm afraid I'll wake up. A tear rolled down my cheek. You won't. I gently placed my hand over his. I'm real. The moment our hands touched, he pulled me into his arms. The ballroom disappeared. The applause disappeared. The cameras disappeared. Only his heartbeat remained. The same heartbeat I had never forgotten. I'm sorry, he whispered over and over. I'm sorry I wasn't there, I cried against his chest. You searched. I know now. I searched everywhere. I know. I thought you left because you regretted me. He pulled back just enough to look into my eyes. Never. Not for 1 second. His voice cracked again. I woke up. You were gone. I searched the hotel. I thought someone had taken you. I came back. But you had disappeared. I thought you didn't want to be found. I smiled sadly. I went back too. I waited outside that hotel for weeks. His eyes closed. So close. So close. And we still missed each other. Margaret quietly wiped away her tears. It was never because you stopped loving each other. It was simply the wrong time. A tiny voice interrupted the silence. Daddy? Every head turned. Noah stood beside Sophia, still holding her hand, looking uncertain, looking hopeful. Ethan slowly knelt until they were eye level. Fresh tears rolled down his face. Come here. Noah hesitated for only a second, then walked into his arms. Ethan hugged him so tightly it looked like he was trying to make up for 5 lost years in one embrace. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I should have been there. I should have watched you take your first steps. I should have taught you how to ride a bicycle. I should have tucked you into bed every night. His shoulders shook. I missed everything. Noah gently touched Ethan's face. It's okay. You found us now. That simple sentence broke every person in the ballroom. Even the reporters quietly lowered their cameras. Margaret began crying openly. Sophia wiped away tears. I covered my mouth as I watched my son comfort the father he had only just met. Noah smiled. Can I call you Daddy now? Ethan laughed through his tears. I've been waiting 5 years to hear that. Noah wrapped his little arms around his neck. Daddy. Ethan closed his eyes, holding his son, holding the family he never knew he still had. Behind them, Vanessa suddenly laughed. A desperate laugh. This is ridiculous. You actually believe her? Everyone turned. Vanessa pointed toward me. She planned this. She came back because she found out who you are. No. Sophia stepped forward. I've known Emily for 5 years. I watched her build her life from nothing. She never knew Ethan was Alex until yesterday. Margaret nodded. My grandson searched for one woman for 5 years. He found her before he even knew her name. Vanessa shook her head wildly. She's lying. Ethan slowly stood, still holding Noah's hand. Then he looked at Vanessa, not with anger, with disappointment. You've spent years pretending to care about me. You never once cared about my happiness. Vanessa's eyes widened. I love you. No, he answered quietly. You love the idea of becoming Mrs. Kingsley. Silence. You humiliated the mother of my son. You humiliated the woman I love. You humiliated yourself. He turned toward security. Escort Miss Vanessa Hart out. 2 security officers stepped forward. Vanessa struggled. You'll regret this. Ethan, you belong with me. He never looked at her again. As the ballroom doors closed behind her, the applause slowly returned. Not for a fashion collection, for truth, for forgiveness, for love. Later that evening, the ballroom had emptied. Only family remained. Noah had fallen asleep on my shoulder. Ethan smiled. "May I?" I nodded. He carefully lifted Noah into his arms, like he had been doing it forever. We walked out of the hotel together, not as strangers, not as designer and billionaire, as a family. Outside, a black luxury SUV waited. Ethan opened the rear door. "No," I smiled. "We should go back to our hotel." He shook his head gently. "Emily." Then he looked at Noah sleeping peacefully against his chest. "My family is going home." The words stole every breath I had left. I climbed into the car. For the first time, it didn't feel like I was following a billionaire. It felt like I was going home. When we arrived at Kingsley Estate, Noah slowly opened his eyes. He looked around in amazement. "Daddy, you really live here?" Ethan laughed. "For now." He knelt beside him. "But from today, this is your home too." Noah smiled so widely I thought his cheeks would hurt. He grabbed both our hands. "Come on." He pulled us through the front doors together. Margaret watched from behind us, smiling through tears. "This house has been empty for 5 years," she whispered. "Now it finally feels like home." Several weeks later, the media had moved on. Vanessa had disappeared from every headline. Bennett Designs had become the newest luxury fashion brand under Kingsley Group. Life finally became peaceful. One evening, I found Ethan standing in the garden. The sunset painted the sky gold. He smiled as I walked toward him. "I've been thinking." "About what?" "How much time we lost." I took his hand. "We found each other." "That's what matters," he smiled. "Not quite." He slowly reached into his jacket. My heart skipped. He knelt on one knee, not in front of reporters, not in front of investors, only in front of me and Noah, who peeked around the garden fountain with Margaret, trying very hard not to giggle. Ethan laughed. "I think our little spy has ruined the surprise." Noah ran toward us. "I couldn't wait." We all laughed. Ethan opened a small velvet box. Inside was the most beautiful ring I had ever seen. "Emily Carter. I lost 5 years. I can't get them back. But if you'll let me, I'll spend the rest of my life making up for every one of them." He smiled. "Will you marry me?" I laughed through my tears, then looked at Noah. "What do you think?" He grinned. "Say yes, Mommy." I looked back at Ethan. "My answer will always be yes." He slipped the ring onto my finger, then stood and kissed me. This time, there was no fear, no goodbye, no unanswered questions, only love. 6 months later. The garden bloomed with white roses, friends, family, laughter, music. I stood at the end of the aisle wearing the wedding dress I had designed myself. Waiting for me at the altar was Ethan. Our eyes met. He smiled the same smile that had stolen my heart 5 years ago. Noah proudly walked down the aisle carrying the rings. Halfway there, he abandoned the careful walk and ran straight to Ethan. The guests burst into laughter. Ethan lifted him into his arms. "I think we'll walk together." Noah nodded proudly. Father and son reached the altar side by side. I walked toward them, not alone, never alone again. As I reached Ethan, he gently took my hands. "I searched the whole world for you." I smiled through tears. "You only needed to follow your heart." He laughed softly. "I finally did." We exchanged vows. We exchanged rings. Then he kissed me. The applause echoed through the gardens. As the sun disappeared behind the trees, I looked at my husband, our son, our family. 5 years ago, I believed one night had ruined my life. I was wrong. It had been the night that gave me everything. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories don't begin with forever. They begin with goodbye. And somehow, still find their way home.